Sai Ram. At the very outset, I offer my most humble and prayerful salutations at the lotus feet of our most beloved Bhagwan, Sri Satya Sai Baba. It didn't take much time for me to choose the title for this, and I thought this is the most apt one to commemorate the 10th anniversary of HeartValveBank's stupendous work which was outlined in the presentation. With heart, for heart. I had the good fortune of training in cardiac surgery in India, and I am ever grateful to NHS for giving me a chance to train further in the United Kingdom before I went back, and I worked in Swami's Hospital in Sri Satya Sai Institute of Higher Medical Sciences for about 5.5 years, where I headed the department, and we had a very good time operating on 100 to 120 patients every month. And then later I also worked for a short time in Narayan Hrudayalaya, which does the largest number of heart operations on any given day in the world today. Who is an ideal doctor? Sarire jarjare bhute vyadhigraste kalebare aushadam jahnavi toyam vaidyo narayano harihi is the saying of our seers and ancient sages. As you grow old, and sometimes when you are young, when disease befalls, as an adjunct to the medicine which is given by the doctor, they used to administer the water from Ganges, and they used to say, doctor is verily the embodiment of God. But then, what is the present status of doctors? Vaidjaraja namastubhyam Yamaraja sahodaraha. Yamastu harati pranam, Vaidjaraja haratu pranan dhananicha. O doctor, salutations to you. You are verily the own brother of Lord of Death, Yama, in Indian mythology. Because he is so compassionate, he takes only life. You are more compassionate, you take life and money as well. Though this may not be a very fair analysis, somebody said, what is the relationship between doctor and a terrorist? And they have got this data and statistics, and mathematics. You can do the way you want to please. And here it says, the number of the deaths which are caused by errors of omission and commission in North America alone is 780,000 every year. And since 9/11, if you were to just extrapolate to 2012 when this calculation was made, about 7 million deaths are caused by errors of omission and commission by the doctors. It's truth. And number of USA deaths since 9/11 attack, assuming that every attack is done by terrorists, is 3,000, and therefore doctors are about 2,300 times as dangerous as terrorists. Now I'll just try to briefly touch upon what is the scenario of healthcare in different parts of the world, and then we'll come back to heart and what is the role of HeartValveBank so far and what should it be its role in future. NHS is one of the best systems of healthcare delivery in the world. I have authority to say that because I have been a part of that, and I have worked day in and day out in the general informative leads for NHS. If you pick up today's Independent newspaper, the very headline is criticizing NHS. I don't know how many of you have seen that. It says the so-called NHS direct call system is putting patients to peril. NHS employs 1.3 million people, is one of the largest employees in the world, similar to Indian Railways. It is in contact with 1.4 million homes every day, and NHS sees 1.5 million patients and their families every single day. You may not even realize that in a week, the NHS ambulances make 50,000 trips. So in other words, it is a success story. I have compared it with other European models. I have compared it with the American model and the Asian models. And it is one of the best models of healthcare delivery. Quality is inbuilt in the NHS. It is a mature system. There are minor issues as they were reported in today's newspapers, but overall system is superb, and I think none of you should crib about NHS, but should be ever grateful to NHS. When I compare this to the third world and in India, the primary, secondary and tertiary care what you see in India or in the third world is a huge spectrum. At one end of the spectrum, you have got very appalling services, and on the other end, you have got excellent services which can be compared with the best in the world. This happens in Potepalli, where the Satyasai General Hospital has been sponsored by HeartValveBank. I have been to that place, to best of the hospitals in the corporate world in India. But we have to remember that what NHS is able to do uniformly across the district hospitals and the teaching hospitals, it's very difficult to do with the same uniformity in other parts of the world, for the sheer reason of the money which is involved and the population which is involved to be served. Things are improving, but they are doing at a snail's pace. In India, if you want to get into the training to become a doctor, you have private medical colleges or a college which has got some management seats. These are 2013 figures. Either you compete with several others very rigorously and get into an MBBS, or for your son or daughter, you can buy an MBBS seat. We are not particularly bothered about their attitude, their aptitude. We can give you the seat. All you need is 60,000 pounds. And if you want to see your daughter or son as a postgraduate, please come with another 150,000 pounds. You choose the subject, we will give it to you. Open. It is for sale. If you want to see your son or daughter as a cardiologist or a neurologist, no problem. Another 150,000 pounds. With your hostels and whatever, families are spending up to 600,000 pounds to see their son or daughter as a doctor, because a part of medical training is for sale in India. I am ashamed to say that. Now, if you were to have a family which has invested so much of money, will they see this as investment to serve the needy and poor and downtrodden, or will they see this as an investment to make money higher than your bank interest or post office interest? At present, Indian government, and for that matter governments in many of the third world countries, are unable to create suitable environment to practice medicine in a pure and uncorrupt manner, free from political interference. I have seen professors of orthopedics who are displaced from one medical college to the other at the drop of the hat because minister's brother-in-law wants to occupy that place. It's a shame. So these highly competent doctors who have come out of this mill, what do? They have to do post-graduation. And unfortunately, the avenues of post-graduation in India are limited because we have got a very unfortunate and destructive caste-based reservation system in Indian postgraduate seats. And then the money which a postgraduate doctor gets while he is training is appalling. It's difficult to maintain a family with that. Infrastructure in government hospitals is lacking, and money and quality of training are available abroad, and that's the reason why you see so many Indian doctors in the United Kingdom as part of NHS, in the United States of America, in Australia, in New Zealand, you name it, you have got Indian doctors everywhere. So much so, we had a function in Leeds when I was there around 2002. The mayor of Leeds City Council openly admitted in a gathering like this that if Indian doctors and nurses were to go back, NHS collapses overnight. That is the contribution which Indian doctors are making and the quality which they are able to give. Now, the healthcare delivery system in India has got a unique challenge. We are still losing 500,000 lives every year at the turn of the monsoon because of diarrhea. 600,000 are losing their life every year because of tuberculosis. World Health Organization has estimated that 1 in 3 in the world is suffering from tuberculosis, or is at least infected with tuberculosis at some point. 30% of cardiac hospital admissions, tertiary care hospital admissions, are because of cardiac disease, because of rheumatic heart disease. Communicable diseases are still common, and therefore we have got the communicable diseases on one hand with which we grew all our lives, and we have successfully imported the lifestyle diseases because we have imbibed the bad of the Western culture, and our diets are changed, and we have got lifestyle diseases as well. This is a report which was published in Times of India when I was working in Sri Satyasai Institute of Higher Medical Sciences in Bangalore. There is a confirmed 3 cholera cases in the state's capital of Silicon City of India. And you may not be able to see on the table of those bureaucrats and ministers who were discussing the outburst of cholera in Bangalore are bottled waters. When there was no protected water even today to many parts of capitals of Indian states, what to say of districts and what to say of villages. And that is why Bhagavan has proven to us again that the so-called Aqua Care project is something which is dear to him. We are here talking about a part of his Medicare, but Aqua Care is again something which Swami has taken it on himself. But things are not that bad because of late things have started to improve in a way. And the scenario in Andhra Pradesh where I am presently working, we have got a scheme called Arogya Sri scheme. It started about 5 years ago. About 5,000 crores has been spent on that, but that is 1/6 of the scam of Commonwealth Games, which is 30,000 crores. In other words, if that scam were not to be there, 6 other states in my country would have Arogyasri equivalent for the last 5 years. It is an excellent scheme where we are able to give high-end cardiac care to the needy. So many people are ever grateful because now they can walk into 300 plus hospitals and they can get advanced cardiac care. But then, I don't know how many of you realize that India now has 28 states and 7 union territories. And as I am talking to you, this scheme has spread very slightly to 5 other states. But then what about the other states and what about the other territories? And what happens to the people who have got cardiac disease? Now, why should we be talking about cardiac disease all the time? Heart measures only 300 grams in its weight. It is generally normally, your size of the closed fist, unless you pamper on the English fish and chips. It pumps 5 to 6 liters of blood without your knowledge every minute. With an exercise, it can go up to 25 liters per minute, and sometimes with your knowledge and sometimes without, it beats 100,000 times every day for you. That is a marvel. And like other organs which require blood supply, it gets its blood supply from right and left coronary arteries. The left one divides into the left anterior descending and circumflex. That's what you will be hearing when people say, I had a triple bypass. So this is the triple bypass you are talking about. These 3 blood vessels get choked with porridge-like erythematous material. The higher non-vegetarian food you eat, more of fish and chips you eat, more of porridge you have in the coronary arteries. HeartValveBank was revolving around this valve concept, and that's how it began. So I thought I'll just tell for general information that there are 4 valves in the heart in order of passage of impure blood to pure blood. They are tricuspid valve, so the blood comes into the right heart, impure blood goes through this valve, then it goes through the pulmonary valve, goes through the lung, blood gets oxygenated and purified there, comes back to the left heart, passes through mitral valve and then passes through the aortic valve finally and goes on into the body. In somebody who is a drug addict, he can have an autogenous infection where tricuspid valve can be destroyed, or this is something which you do to yourself, or sometimes you have chronic rheumatic heart disease where 1, 2, 3, or sometimes all the 4 valves are damaged. I have operated in this month girls who are in their second decade and we had to replace their valves. Now look at their life further. I had, in fact, a 16-year-old girl on whom we have done a right thoracotomy incision because the moment, with this modern fashion of low neck blouses, with the traditional operation, there is a little scar which everybody will notice. So we have operated under her right breast, and when she wears her normal dress, nobody can ever make out that she ever was a recipient of a heart valve. That you don't see in this part of the country, in this part of the world, and that's the reason why you don't appreciate what is the magnitude of the problem, which I'll come to that in a second. So any of these valves are sometimes more. In the same patient, you can have a double valve replacement requirement. There are patients in whom we have done triple valve replacements. Our double valve replacements and one valve repair is very common in India, and I think every week I'll be doing 1 or 2 such operations now. It's a matter of shame, but that is the load. We have to live with it. So these valves, when they have this disease, some of them are amenable to repairs, and sometimes you may have to replace the valve. That is, the diseased valve is so much diseased that it is beyond repair that you have to put it into the dustbin and replace it with a valve. So when you replace a valve, you replace it either with a mechanical valve or a bioprosthetic valve. Now the mechanical valve is a mechanical valve, as the name itself indicates. It's a prosthetic valve which is made in the factory with some materials which are used in aeronautical engineering, and therefore they actually outlive the patient most of the times. Their life expectancy is 200 years to 300 years in the in vivo experiments. So we have nearly ideal valve in terms of function, but we don't have a nearly ideal valve because all of them require anticoagulation. So if a young girl, like the girl I spoke to you, a 16-year-old girl, I have put a mechanical valve because it has to work for several years, but this girl is going to be on anticoagulation for the rest of her life. When she marries and when she wants to have children, she has to do under medical supervision because we have to alter her anticoagulation in a manner that it doesn't affect the baby inside. So it is a disease replaced with another disease, if I may say so, because that girl has to be under the medical care forever. She has to undergo tests to determine the degree of anticoagulation and adjust the dosages. This goes on forever. The other choice is to have biological valve or bioprosthetic valve. Where does this bioprosthetic valve come from? You can have a homographed valve from a cadaver, that is a human valve, but that is not normally what we use because you can't have such a large scale from people who are dead because we don't have that concept of organ donation to that tune, and sometimes it may not be the best. For some reason, now this I think only Swami knows, why there is antigenic similarity between a pig and a man, or for that reason a cow and a man. So out of all the animals, not monkeys, people say the closest primates are monkeys, but the valves which we use to put in human hearts come from pigs and cows. And therefore, when those of you who enjoy bacon or beef in the morning, be grateful to those pigs and cows, which apart from the beef and bacon are giving the valves. Now if you look at the cost of the valve, if I were to put a mechanical valve in a patient, just the valve costs 4,000 pounds in the United Kingdom. It costs $4,000 the other side of Atlantic. And you know the conversion, especially Gujaratis are very quick in dollar to pound conversion. Even at 1 a.m., they take microseconds. And ladies take nanoseconds. If you were to put in a biological valve, it costs 8,000 pounds. And if you were to go, any one of you has a relative and they have to go for a private surgery in United Kingdom outside NHS, you will be spending 35,000 to 50,000 pounds for the whole operation, including the valve. That's the cost I'm talking about for a valve replacement. This is all the basis why HeartValveBank has to come into existence. In India, the same valve, manufactured by the same company, which was costing $4,000 the other side of Atlantic, the other side of Indian Ocean, it costs 1/10. Okay, that's the pricing policy of the companies. And therefore, an NHS trained surgeon, in fact, we are 3 of us in the same center, which is probably a world record, 3 of the Yorkshire trained surgeons working in Secunderabad. And so, a well-trained surgeon doing a proper standard operation according to NHS standards, we can do it at 1/10 the cost of the United Kingdom. Now, when you have such a big cost, and when Swami established the hospitals, people have asked Swami, why Sri Satyasai Institute of Higher Medical Sciences when you can cure diseases with your intention? Swami said, I have created law of karma, law of action and reaction, and therefore it has to go on. 1% or 2%, it is my will. Yes, I can change, but I don't change because I don't want to go against the law which I created. Swami says in 1991 that by the time diagnosis is made that somebody has got cardiac disease, and what cardiac disease, the family is broke. Forget the treatment. So now you know you have spent all the money, you know that you have got a disease, the treatment of which you cannot afford. This is 1991 statement by Swami. It is true even today. And then I tell this on this podium. Other than Sri Satyasai Institute of Higher Medical Sciences campuses, there are no other hospitals in the world which are open to the mankind across the globe without any reference to caste, creed, color, nationality, or religion. Anyone can access these hospitals. I repeat, there is no other hospital in the world. That's it. The good news is there are 2 more hospitals which have started on the same line, one in Raipur and one in Calcutta is coming up. I had the very good fortune with divine grace to work on the day 1 of Sri Satyasai Institute of Higher Medical Sciences in Prasanthi Nilayam, and when I finished the training in Sri Satyasai Institute of Higher Medical Sciences in Whitefield, Bangalore. These hospitals have the best of the technology in the world. In 1991, when a biplane coronary angiogram cath lab came, we all were wonderstruck. That was the first machine ever sold to India, and machine straight away coming from Philips Holland. Because of the cost, Swami says, cardiology, cardiac surgery, neurology and neurosurgery are the only 4 specialties which are subserved in the super specialty hospital in Bangalore even today. You have got excellent cath labs in cardiology. Cardiothoracic surgery has outstanding operation theaters. And the other 2 specialties, as I said, are neurology and neurosurgery. Now, Sri Satyasai Institute of Higher Medical Sciences, Department of Cardiothoracic and Vascular Surgery, has 8 operation theaters, out of which presently we are using only 4. And these are equipped with best of the equipment available. And then there are 2 intensive care unit complexes. You have to see them to believe them. The length, the breadth, the aura, the equipment is phenomenal. We'll just take a little break here to watch a video, and we'll see what Swami has to say about these hospitals.
ఉపశమన మొసగేవు ఓదార్చుచుందువు ఉపశమన మొసగేవు ఓదార్చుచుందువు జాడ్యముల బాపి ఈ జనుల నెల్లా దీవించుటే నీదు దివ్యలీలా నీదు దివ్యలీలా దివ్యలీలా నీదు దివ్యలీలా
దివ్యలీలా నీదు దివ్యలీలా దివ్యలీలా నీదు దివ్యలీలా
ఏ విద్యాలయం నిర్మించినా వ్యాపారం వ్యాపారం వ్యాపారం. కానీ ఉచితంగా బీదలను చూచి కరుణించేటువంటి వ్యక్తి కనిపించటం లేదు. కనుక పల్లలు ఎందే ఇలాంటి పవిత్రమైన యొక్క శక్తిని అభివృద్ధి పరచాలని చెప్పి సంకల్పించుకొని 100 కోట్ల వ్యయం చేత మన ప్రశాంతి నియమనందు ఒక విధమైన వైద్యాలయం స్థాపించడానికి బైపాస్ సర్జరీ కానీ బ్రెయిన్ ఆపరేషన్ చేయటం కానీ అన్ని ఉచితంగానే. దీని ప్రారంభోత్సవం కూడాను అప్పుడే నిర్ణయించుకున్నాం. 91 నవంబర్ 22 దీని ప్రారంభోత్సవం చేస్తాం. శుభవార్త అనౌన్స్ చేయవలసి వచ్చింది. మన భారతదేశం ప్రధానమంత్రి ప్రారంభించిన తరువాత 15 నిమిషములకే డాక్టర్లు ఆపరేషన్ ప్రారంభించారు. 3 గంటల లోపల 4 పెద్ద ఆపరేషన్ అంతా జరిగాయి. ఒకటి చాలా కాంప్లికేటెడ్, ఆ హార్ట్ లోపల రంధ్రం ఉంటుండాలి. అలాంటి ఆపరేషన్ కూడాను సక్సెస్ అయిపోయింది. అందరూ క్షేమంగా ఉన్నారు.
పేదవారికి కూడా పెద్ద ఆసుపత్రిలో ఉచితముగా వైద్యము సముచితముగా సమకూర్చి వేదనల తొలగించి ఆదరించి వేదనల తొలగించి ఆదరించి చికిత్సనొసగేవు విచికిత్సలేక చికిత్సనొసగేవు విచికిత్సలేక
నిజని నిజ పని బబ మగరి బబ నిజని పగారి నీద బబగారి నిబ సా నిబగారి సా.
వ్యాపార రీతిలో వ్యవహరించుట కాదు, రోగులకు దయతో సుఖయోగమునగూర్చి వ్యాపార రీతిలో వ్యవహరించుట కాదు, రోగులకు దయతో సుఖయోగమునగూర్చి చిరాయువును కలిగించి చిదానందమొలికించి
చిరాయువును కలిగించి చిదానందమొలికించి
కాపాడుచుందువు కరుణతోడా కాపాడుచుందువు కరుణతోడా.
దివ్యలీలా నీదు దివ్యలీలా దివ్యలీలా నీదు దివ్యలీలా.
పల్లెలకు వైద్య సదుపాయములు కలిగించి పల్లెలకు వైద్య సదుపాయములు కలిగించి
అందరికీ స్వస్థతను అందిస్తూ అందరికీ స్వస్థతను అందిస్తూ సరిగా సరిగా మగసనిగా వపర వపరా నిర మగసా ధనముతో దొరకనిది మనసుతో ఇచ్చునది ధనముతో దొరకనిది మనసుతో ఇచ్చునది
ఆరోగ్య పెన్నిధి నీవందించు సన్నిధి ఆరోగ్య పెన్నిధి నీవందించు సన్నిధి దివ్యలీలా నీదు దివ్యలీలా 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 దివ్యలీలా నీదు దివ్యలీలా
What a moving story and what a moving account of what the hospitals have achieved and are achieving. Then where is the problem? Why not Satyasai Institute of Higher Medical Sciences for all the patients we are talking about? Now, if you were to add a new patient, and there are 150 new patients every day in Sri Satyasai Institute of Higher Medical Sciences, Whitefield, and a similar number in Prasanthi Nilayam. If you were to add one name, can you guess when this particular patient is going to get the call for surgery? Can you guess? 200 years. So if you were to have a 16-year-old girl, she will be about 216-year-old, then she will get a call from Satyasai Hospital. This is the official calculation given to me by Satyasai Institute of Higher Medical Sciences. This is not my calculation. What is the present status of registration in Swami's hospitals? To make this presentation as authentic as possible, I have spoken to Ashwin, who is the manager of Sri Satyasai Institute of Higher Medical Sciences in Department of Cardiology, whose brother is in the audience today. Valve surgery patients, for the last 5 years, we are no longer registering in Satyasai Institute of Higher Medical Sciences. They come, we see them, we test them, and we say, sorry, you've got a problem, we can't address that, it's not going to be in your lifetime, please go elsewhere and get operated. Tetralogy of Fallot, it's a blue baby syndrome. Children come, no longer registered. Complex congenital heart disease, no longer registered. 2013, May 6th, Iswarama Day, what are the waiting times? Tetralogy of Fallot, blue babies have to wait for 10 years. Atrial septal defect, which is very simple to operate, they have to wait for 10 years, and as of now, in Bangalore Hospital, there are 1,500 patients who are waiting. Coronary artery disease, we give them a waiting time of 6 to 8 months. So what? They can't afford, let them wait. If they wait, 3 things can happen. 1, patient may die waiting for the operation. And I'm sure you'll realize that nobody is going to wait for 200 years after a valve disease. Patient may become inoperable. And I'm sorry to state, I have seen this in Swami's hospital. We are all helpless because of the stupendous magnitude of the problem. I have seen a 6th grade student, a girl who was registered and who never got a call, has now progressed, she will either live very short life or she will require a heart-lung transplantation. Now, when you're waitlisting for simple problems such as PDAs and ASDs, who will carry out heart-lung transplantation on this girl? So, what can we do to address this problem? If not us, who? If not now, when? And I think Swami, in his infinite grace, has permitted the formation and conduct of HeartValveBank. It has supplied valves to several hospitals because of the goodwill of all of you. It has sponsored heart surgeons. Probably this is not something which you are aware of. I don't want to reveal details because of confidentiality, but it has sponsored heart surgeon salaries. It has sponsored heart surgeries, and I have done quite a few of them in the recent years, where a patient walks in, they say, I can afford only X amount. The remainder amount has been given benevolently by HeartValveBank, and these patients are absolutely doing fine. Now, who contributes? Several of you who are here, and many more who are not here, who are not as rich as Bill Gates or Tatas and Birlas. They contribute to this. In ancient seers and sages, as I keep saying, they say, if your right hand has given, left hand should not know. And that is how all of you have been doing. There is no list of contributors to this charity published by HeartValveBank anytime. Sometimes Ajit Bhai doesn't know where the money is coming from. And that is the reason why probably he can't give a receipt. I'm only kidding. As he said, and of course, as I think Somerset Mom said, there are only two things which are certain in this life. One is death, the other is taxes. And all of you, I'm sure, I know how much you love inland revenue. But for this, can you believe that even in economic crisis of Europe and UK, they contribute 25%? I think we should give inland revenue a big hand. I had a very fruitful meeting with the HeartValveBank yesterday with the trustees. In fact, that was the first meeting with all the trustees. And what have we decided? We decided that at least one cardiac surgery will be sponsored by HeartValveBank every week, commencing from this month. And as you must have seen, HeartValveBank doesn't only talk about valves, it does sponsor other congenital heart disease cases as well. And we want to go beyond and just not cardiac illness. The trustees have expressed yesterday that they want to sponsor certain selected cases of cancer chemotherapy as well. Because a cancer chemotherapy can cost 8,000 pounds per cycle. And there are patients who require it for 10 cycles without a definite endpoint. And some of them, they die because they just can't afford it. And you have seen worldwide beneficiaries, we were discussing this yesterday, that why only India? And in fact, this is not the case, because you will shortly hear the story of an African patient. But then we also thought that the HeartValveBank will now see whether we can extend this benefit to other poor people in the world. And we also discussed yesterday about establishing an exclusive fund. And the interest of that fund will sponsor development of advanced pediatric cardiac surgery. Development of advanced pediatric cardiac surgery is very difficult to establish a center, because you need dedicated pediatric cardiac surgeon, dedicated pediatric cardiac anesthetist, pediatric intensivist, pediatric perfusionist, and so on. And these are all the things which probably will be in the pipeline. And I thank you all for your patient hearing. Na karmana prajaya na dhane na tyage naike na amrutatva manasuhu. How do you attain immortality? You do not attain immortality by the bank balance of Barclays. You do not attain immortality by the number of followers you have. You attain immortality only because of the sacrifice that you render. May there be peace of all the rulers and the ruled across the globe, and may the rulers rule the world in a righteous manner. Let there be peace and good happening to every creature in the world, and may all worlds be happy now forever. Thank you.